as an investor here in the crypto market, what we all need is clear information. This one is actually showing you miners have stopped selling and they are right now in the accumulation mode. So it's going back up. That's all great. It's all fine, because historically what they're trying to illustrate is when they start to accumulate, prices go back up. Fine. So here that was the case. They stopped selling, they started accumulating, prices went up. Here they were still accumulating, but the prices are going down. So you do get that conflicting information. And then you're coming on to this one from the whale alert, looking at 10,000 BTC is actually moved into Coinbase. So that's like, we may have some selling pressure coming in. Why would that happen right now when the price is so low? Right, that's one of the biggest questions you should be asking yourself. And then you're going through different news and you're reaching somewhere like this. Fine, we are having war on one side, which is kind of getting out of hand. And as you look at this, it's like, you may be most likely looking at the next event here. Now, last 2 years, without any doubt, has been so much eventful that we as investors are really tired of watching the markets fluctuate, watching everything change here and there. Some of them are not bad news. This is actually a great news. Fine. But if you really look into these, it's like, you actually get to see like there are fluctuations, there are good news, and there are bad news as well in the market. So as you maneuver through that, you're looking for what is the most possible outcome. So here BIS is actually giving you what would be most likely scenario, and they're actually highlighting cybersecurity project will include partnership with Trials Bank, and they continue on talking about how the cryptocurrency intelligence platform would actually work and all. Then you come on to this one where it's like, smart contracts that underpin automatically executed crypto transaction could be an area where central banks will be looking to supervise. Now, when they look into it, it goes back to the central bank of central banks, where they get the information, where they learn these stuff. And you again come back to that climate related disclosures, climate change, green nature, sustainability, and all those stuff. And you're like, that means proof of work is going to have a hard time from here. So if you are seeing this, fine, but you also have to follow this one too, because the market do show you different stuff. Now, take this from me. There is a possibility that we've been looking at the support resistance zones for XRP differently. Now, that's a possibility. I'm not saying that this is certain. I'm saying there's a huge possibility. Now, if you don't agree with that thought process, do let me know in the comment section with your justification that why you don't think that, right? So this is Jan top 2018, then 2013. So you kind of got like around 4 years, 5 years gap there, and then you're looking at the bottom, and it's like say 6 years gap. Fine. If you happen to connect these top, you go up, fine, but bottom should be connected like this, isn't it? I'm actually in a doubt, because this was the bottom where we started rallying, but this was the market cycle bottom. So if I'm to connect the market cycle bottoms, I'm going this way. Now, have we been below that? Yes, we have spent time below that before we actually break back in. Why we broke back in? Because there was a lot of adoption news and all. Now, there would be certain questions which would come to your mind when you are looking at this precisely, like, this is like 259 days before we dropped here at 77 days. So how do you digest this information? Because right now you have a lot of different stuff evolving in the market, right? Say, especially when you are looking at XRP Ether, there are like, confusion. Are we going to break higher? What do you see in the market? Do this actually mean there's going to be issues? Because this is Ether BTC and it's showing like, possible outcome may not be positive because it's also being supported by other factors, right? So you are looking at all this and asking that question to yourself, how much more eventful can this year be? Because if these steps are playing out in the market, then that really means there is going to be bad stuff. Now, this one, now it's up to your guys. You can actually guess what do you think. But I'm like, okay, if she is saying like the market still now has been orderly in the drop, I don't think so. I think it's worse. Well, now, if you're looking at stock market, if you're looking at crypto, if you're looking at real estate, it's bad. And if they think like something even worse is coming, I don't know how much more eventful 2022 is going to be. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. So, as we look at the market, we are like, okay, we are up, we are down, we are moving a little bit up, a little bit down, but last 24 hours, we are still in red for most of the assets. Then, if you look at last 7 days, okay, some of them have maintained a position. They're not actually dropping much, they're not going up much, but they are maintaining their position. Cardano, XRP, they are all holding, while Ether is down 7.5%. BTC is down 8.6%. Now, if you actually do that comparison, say this is XRP Ether. So on a monthly chart, that's long-term perspective. You are looking at, okay, we did this long wick here in the price back in 2017. But right now, you are looking at a possible double bottom, which usually signals you are moving to the upside. Now, why do I give more weightage on breaking to the upside when we are just at the resistance and we've been getting resisted and rejected all these times? Right? Fine. My justification here is last time you had this double bottom, you went up to retest. That's like 100 days. And you got rejected. Fine. Now, it's like 500 days of bottom. And in that 500 days of bottom, look at your RSI supports. It's trending up for like 1.5 years. Now, if you are looking from the exact bottom here in the RSI, it's long way, like 2 years you're trending to the upside where price is at the bottom stabilizing for like around 1.5 years. Fine. So now, do you expect it to break higher? Now, no one knows. It's up to your guess. But if you look at the RSI on a monthly, it's now bouncing with this double bottom. So back in this day when we were talking about this, we didn't actually get that double bottom bounce, and it was still just the start of the corrective action. Fine. Now, okay, this one highlighted here, you know what just went wrong there, right? So that all happens in the market. We get bad days, we get good days, but are we at the bottom? There's a big question which everyone is asking. This is like Ether BTC on a monthly. Now, get your thoughts clear on this. This is XRP Ether. From the bottom, it's just starting to go back up on a monthly. And then you go on Ether BTC, you're seeing the RSI from the top is actually going down, having opposite momentum. Okay, fine. That do mean there is a possibility for Ether to drop 20% lower against BTC. So now, you're like, okay, does that actually sound crazy? For me, I'm like, no, because that 20% drop will actually take you to a long-term support resistance zone that has been acting as a support, resistance, and most likely a support next time. So that range of negative 20% is not that bad. And then you're looking at the price. Okay, we are now about $1,000. Your support is at $800. That itself is like, okay, we do actually have room to drop 20%. That's not bad. But the only concern here right now is the RSI. Now, that's the same for most of the assets, right? You look at last cycle, you were going down, and as you bounced, you were still inside this support. Here you broke below. You came all the way to 24. Fine, that's Ether. Now we are looking at BTC. You had this pattern, where you were actually following the support line. And now if you actually observe these three support lines in these three cycles, we haven't actually seen a major fluctuation like this before, right? We are dropping below this, but we are at a point where we are near the 200-day moving average, long-term support line. So what do you really think is coming in for the next 2 to 3 months? It can be bad, it can be good, no one knows. But the odds are that as you are already close to this bottom, capitulated this long to the downside, there is a possibility that you may start moving back to the upside. Fine. So now this is XRP USD on a 3-day chart. Okay, the price is trending to the downside. The RSI, if you look at that, on a 3-day is higher low. It's not lower low. Then you're moving on to a weekly. Okay, that makes that the support is on a long-term range, right? This support has been valid from a long period of time, and if the price is getting this bounce, okay, which means people are entering. Now it's no way where we are going to go euphoric, right? If you even need to go super bullish from here, you need to break this trend line. Yes, the RSI is suggesting you have divergence, but to get a validation, you need to break through this, because the market is actually showing you a lot of bearish signals, not the crypto market. Now, crypto market do have the Celsius 3AC and all of these things which are, slowly evolving on the side, but you do have external factors playing out. So now we are like, okay, fine, what are the odds? Now this is a positive thing. What are the odds that the money from Bitcoin and Ether will roll down into the other assets? I think there is a huge possibility. I really do think so. Now, why do I think that? Let me explain. You are going on to Bitcoin. You're adding your indicators. Fine, you're seeing that this is dropping and this is at the bottom. So you may have a little bit of rally, but that won't actually be a huge rally in terms of price fluctuation, because you may come to 29, 30, then next level is around 40, 44, but you need to break through these levels, which for the time being with the macro environment seems a little bit hard, right? And you just compared Ether to BTC, you just compared XRP to Ether. So one of the easiest stuff you can do is just go to XRP BTC pair and look at where we are right now. Possibility is that you are going back to the upside, because you went from the top to the bottom, you've been trading to the downside, but right now you're close to the resistance, not at the bottom, you're close to the resistance. Fine. So if we get a breakout here, which would be the most likely case, because you have long room to the upside to reach the 200-day moving average, and we've been consolidating here all the way from 2019. So that really is a big range of consolidation in terms of XRP BTC. And as you compared, it do make sense for us to actually look at these pair and say like, okay, we do understand this. That means there is a huge possibility XRP is going to rally against Ether. Fine. So some money is coming in to XRP, not in Ether at that point. Fine. Now here you're also looking at Bitcoin and you're like, okay, we are at long range of bottom, right? And most likely from here, you may not have much of a downside. You're at long-term support, you're bouncing from there, and most likely if you are happening to break to the upside, it's going to be even better. So to ensure what you are looking is correct, now we are putting in the MACD to see like whether we are going to cross to the upside. And it seems like, yes, you have the possibility you're going to cross to the upside, where you're going to get the volume here back to the upside. Now that is really important as you cross back to the upside, because from 2019 you are now trending higher. Now it's not the actual perfect trend to the upside, because this was your first trend and now you're trending like this, but still you are inside that trend where you're going to the upside. That's actually fine. Now, at the same time, the RSI happened to support its rising trend line and respecting that from that moment. So if you take these two into account, you are like, okay, there's a lot of room for XRP to run to the upside. But again, the question actually boils down to XRP USD pair, right? Because if you go on XRP USD pair on a monthly, you are now somewhere close to your bottom range in the RSI, right? If you put this exactly correct, okay, not okay, this is the exact bottom where you have been back in March 2020. So that's your monthly RSI for XRP. And you're like, okay, fine. That does actually mean we bottomed, or at least we are close to the bottom. Imagine like, okay, March 2020, your price was here. We were close to 0.1. And right now we are close to 0.3. That's not too much of upside compared to where we are now. But if you are looking at this, there is just one point which is clear. The market is not actually going to the downside. The market is actually trending to the upside. So now you take the same idea of your bottom and connecting this bottom and you're extending that. So you come somewhere like this. Now you're like, okay, we did get a period of time where we were below this. So are we actually going to get a period of time like that? Previously, we did not actually stay there long time. We came directly to the downside. But here you consolidated. So that kind of reduces your total time span from your top to top and bottom to bottom. So you don't really have too much time to consolidate here like what we have done here. That was like almost a year of consolidation. I don't think we have that long here because we have already done this consolidation from this top. So if you are considering like, okay, fine, from the last top here, you literally took like around 820 days before you ran up, and from the all-time highs it took like 1186. Now it's been even longer than that. Right now it's 1600 days and you haven't even showed a signal that we are going back to the upside. Fine, that actually shows like the market has actually been extended a long way and you're just like 400 days from the recent high. But the reason high was not an all-time high in terms of the macro cycle. Now, what does that actually mean? That means you're not trending lower because you're not putting in lower low, right? If you go into the chart, if you zoom into XRP, now you just take a horizontal ray and put it here. This was your first low, bottom 0.1. This is your second low, 0.17. Now, if we happen to bottom here, that's your third one, 0.3. Fine. So for me, this doesn't actually look like a downtrend because on a macro, you're still getting higher highs, you're still getting higher lows. So this is your first step, or this one, which is at the same range, 0.3. And the next one is here, 0.6, 0.7 range. And the next one is like 1.7, 1.9. So if you are actually going higher like this and coming back, most likely the next one is going to be around $3.5, $4, $5. And then correct back to $2, $1.8. This range would be acting as your resistance, strong resistance, right? And next time when you come back down, that would be your support. So you are now looking at an opportunity where the price is going to go from 0.3 all the way to $4, $5, then correct back to $1 or $2, and then go back to $8. You're going to correct back down, then go back to 15 to 20. No one knows. But that's a huge possibility based on the current market situation, in my opinion. Now, if you have a different argument, you can actually put that in the comment section below because that's how we discuss. Unless you inform me like what you think, it's going to be really hard to actually put a perspective on what you guys actually think, right? Now, in Patreon, we do put these stuff regularly. We do actually give you the entire wave structure so that you actually know like what you are doing. Which asset right now is looking so bearish, so you have to be concerned. There are some, and which asset is looking good right now against BTC, against Ether and in USD. So if you want to enter, you can enter, right? So that kind of stuff, we do that regularly in the Patreon, and if you want a chunk of that, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So now you are actually going to the downside here, which in one way is similar to what you're observing here. fine, you get that, you run higher and then you make a rounded top, and then you go back up again. Fine. As we don't have the RSI history here, we can't actually really clearly understand like, okay, what was happening there. But one thing for sure is that the RSI right now is at the monthly bottom. Now this is the same for XRP, this is the same for Ether. So right now when you ask this question to yourself like, okay, are we breaking to the downside? Or are we kind of, having a possibility that we may go back up? After this drop, you may literally have a consolidation where you can get something like this, a range of consolidation 1 or 2 months, then a blast to the upside. But a retest of 3,500, 4,000 cannot be neglected. Now, yes, when you go on a macro, you do have a possibility to ask this question to yourself, isn't this the pattern which we actually saw before Luna went down, before Solana went down, right? Now, we did post all of those way before, like I tweeted yesterday. Solana, we were calling this out from October last year, saying, okay, this is becoming so risky. If you want to take out your money, take out. Then early this year, February, we were saying, okay, this 3-wave structure seems to be done. Now it's up to you, right? Same. If you're looking at this and say like, okay, if we break this one, that's going to be bad. And does the indicator sound like we are going to break it right away? Possibility is still there, but we are close to the bottom in the indicators. So most likely you may not actually get a ton of selling pressure at that point, because this happens to be your all-time high, 1,400. Right now you're close to $1,000. You're bottoming around 800. Most likely, I don't think a lot of people are going to sell this. Even if you have accumulated here in the bottom, which happens to be, say, average of $200, you're still like 4x, not 40x. So I don't think a lot of people would be selling that. We've been selling Ether consistently, $1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, 3,000. Like we've been selling. Now, we didn't get the exact top, I agree, but considering the current price, we've been selling that and informing you through the Telegram, like I'm selling. I bought here of a kind of, buying from 85, 90 to $220. And I've shared the screenshots with you guys, right? Not just making things up. So at this point, am I buying this? I'm not even thinking about touching that stuff. Why? Because in the market, you do have assets with a ton of upside and a ton of fundamentals. Now, if you have a doubt or a question about that, you can just look at a lot of recent publications from a lot of different central banks and governments and ask this question, does it actually look like an opportunity for you? Because for me, it actually does, because we are making higher highs, we are making higher lows, and that usually tends to come up with great outcomes. So guys, if you received value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done that already. And if you want to get these kind of charts and updates regularly on a daily basis, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.